Dear participants of the conference, let me introduce you the presentation on the topic you can see on the screen. With the development of sources of energy-saving systems, wind power plants have become widespread. Much attention is paid to the protection and conservation of biological diversity within the borders and adjacent territories to wind farms, both on the part of the state and the level of implementation of legislative acts, and on the part of the public at the level of environmental initiatives. During the construction and development of the wind farms as well as service roads, the degree of negative technogenic impact on the nature environment reaches its maximum. Let us evaluate the indicators of wind turbine placement using a complex geoecological analysis. It is the identification of signs that characterize the current and expected state of the environment. Geoecological analysis makes it possible to model the ecological situation on the basis of computer technologies using modern software and hardware. As a result, a geographic information systems (GIS) is being created. When processing information data and preparing for mapping as the main product of the analysis, GIS technologies were used, namely Esri's ArcGis software products. You can see the methodology steps that were made in this research: the analysis of the territory, the formation of the boundaries, the identification of main zones, the analysis of the ratio of risks, the characteristics of the density, the construction of Thiessen polygons. Thiessen polygons have the unique property that each polygon contains only one input point, and any location within that polygon is closer to its associated point than to any other polygon points. Here are the next steps of the methodology: allocation of natural areas, Emerald Ecological Network, analysis of biotopic and species diversity, the ornithological census using the characteristics of the barrier effects, analysis of breeding complexes, analysis of bird density, identification of the risk zones. They were placed within the highest concentration and species diversity of wildlife objects. Recommendations and mechanisms have been developed to minimize the impact of wind turbines on the biological components of the geosystem. The application of this method of geoecological analysis gave us the following results. Here is the placement of point data for the location of wind turbines. Now we can see the formation of the boundaries of the wind farm site based on 500 meters buffer zones around the VTG or zones of potential impact. Here you can see the formation of impact zones. On this slide is analysis of the ratio of risk volumes and free movement zones. More details are in the next two slides. We can discuss the volume of all towers and their share relative to the rest of the space. The volume of one tower outside the ratio area you can see in numbers on the slide. As a result of rotation, there is a sphere, a ball. Accordingly, the percentage of spatial dynamics risks is 0.74% of the total space at the height of 54 meters to 180 meters. As a result, here is a characteristic of the density of the VTG placement as the element of the formation of barrier risks. And now, the construction of the Thiessen polygons and their analysis to determine areas of barrier risks. As a result of the performed analysis, we can see a site dividing into polygons. The color gradation of each corresponds to the volume of the area of the site. Risk zones are highlighted in dark brown colors are border areas. Here is identification of natural areas and Emerald Ecological Network. An integrated approach was used in the accessing of the territory of the Emerald Network. Within the boundaries of the wind power plant and 500-meter buffer zones. The territory of the Emerald Network was considered in detail, which part of it are natural and which are anthropogenic. Particular attention was paid to natural areas and their location relative to the 500-meter zones of impact. Estimated characteristics based on the cartographic analysis are presented in the table 1. Analysis of biotopic and species diversity in the assessment of the impact area as an integrated approach to the study and analysis of the territory using the example of vegetation and bird census. Spatial analysis taking into account 500-meter buffer zones. More detailed information you can see in our publication. Analysis of migrations and dangerous height taking into account barrier risks. In this case, the map shows areas in dark color where the wind turbines are located more densely and make a certain risk zone for mass migration at dangerous heights. The analysis of breeding complexes in the risk zones. The result of census data for the breeding period of 2021 are presented in Figure 15 and Table 2, where aerial indicators are considered. Analysis of the abundance and location of these concentrations make it possible to identify areas of large bird gathering, taking into account barrier risk zones, to analyze this ornithological situation at the wind farm site. Allocation of zones for the implementation of mechanisms to minimize the impact of wind turbines on geoecological systems. Particular attention is paid to ecogeographic mapping and the scheme of its implementation based on GIS technologies, the purpose of which is to prevent, reduce and compensate for environmental damage. Geoecological analysis make it possible to compare various spatial information with each other. There were zones of local stress in the study area, which is typical to some extent for natural and technical geosystems. GIS technologies make the geoinformation system an indispensable tool for analyzing information on the state of natural and technical geosystems. Geoecological analysis contribute to a complex assessment of the ecological state of the wind farm site and the development of recommendations for minimizing the impact of the wind farm on the natural environment and its components. Based on the data obtained, recommendations and justification were made on the possibility of building a wind farm and its infrastructure, on limiting the impact on individual biocomplexes, on minimizing damage to flora and fauna during the construction and operation of a wind farm. The main advantages of this analysis are mobility, georeferencing accuracy, further use of data in the design and monitoring work, compatibility with subsequent geoinformation data for subsequent analysis, convenience in visualization, ease of perception, and clarity of thematic maps. Thank you for your attention.